Well, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to take a look at Dawn Toucannon, or Dawn Bird, or whatever you want to call this deck archetype. This, of course, is another Toucannon variant, which has been doing the rounds both online and in terms of content creators, and well, it's about time I take a look at it. So, of course, as per usual, in the description below, there's going to be usual links, the deck list, which is also available to go up in the description below, there's the games that we'll play, and of course the outro and what I think of the deck. So, of course, we are taking a look at another variant of the bird, because there's a lot of ways you can play this bird. It's so splashable. You know, Alakazam plays it, Arboliva plays it. You know, there's so many different ways. We will be taking a look at more Toucannon variants as we go along with the channel. It's just I don't want to put out like 5 Toucannon videos in a week. That would be a bit over-dramatic, and plus you'd probably get sick of seeing this card. But, of course, we do have the ability Aerial Draw, which lets us draw a card for free. And then, of course, Feather Rondo for a colourless energy does 60 plus 20. And if you're an older player like me, you just refer to it as part of your V-Stars attack. There is another card in the format that actually has a similar attack to this, but it's never seen competitive play. This will, I'll tell you that for nothing. Toucannon definitely will see competitive play. The other card I'm on about is Skeledirge from, I think... Oh, what set is it? I don't remember, but that's going to be in Terrible Tuesday at some point. So, of course, we don't just have that in here. Being a Dawn variant of the deck, we are playing a Dusknoir line. Now, most lists are playing a 1-1-1. I'm playing a 2-1-1. Obviously, we have 2 Duskulls, 1 Dusclops, and a Dusknoir. Dusknoir not only helps us have, you know, a better prize map, but also increases our damage output. It means also we can take multi-prize turns against our opponents, which are normally, you know, single prize archetypes. Obviously, you know, Dusknoir's not going to be, you know, doing everything in this match, well, in this video today, but it's nice to have an extra way to just boost our damage. And of course, you know, blowing up a Dusknoir is always satisfying, especially against single prize archetypes. Obviously, in order to make use of not only more bench space, but also, you know, better attackers and other attackers and the like, we of course have a couple of Terra Pokemon. We have a Wellspring Mask Ogerpon, just 1 copy, and we also have a Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon, just 1 copy. I will bring up this lack of terrors in the deck very shortly in the decklist section, so don't worry about that. Then, of course, we have a 2-2 Noctowl line, just to help get the deck going. We have a Lillie Clefairy in here, just to further help out the deck. And then, of course, we do have a couple of Fan Rotom as well, as our main Pokemon lineup. But, obviously, we'll get to the terrors in a moment, because right now, we're going to go to the deck list and have a proper look at the deck list. See you in a moment. And welcome to the deck list. Like I said, this variant is very much focused on the Dawn package. And as you'll see, there appears to be quite a lot of Pokemon in this list. And if we click on here, there's 23 in this list. Which, that does sound like a lot, but trust me, it makes do. This list is perfectly fine with how many Pokemon we're playing. Now, my only complaint, and it's literally my only complaint, well, there's 2 actually. My only complaint about this particular build that I've gone with, well, one of my 2 complaints, I should say, is we're only playing 2 Terrors, which I personally don't like. Now, of course, we do have the Psychic Energy, the Water Energy, and the Fighting Energy, which obviously works for the Cornerstone and the Wellspring. We're playing Crystal as our A-Spec, which, that's part 2 of what I'm on about here. But honestly, I think, genuinely, we could get away with playing a 3rd Terror. Now, out of the Terrors available in format, it would probably be 2nd Cornerstone. We've already seen in past videos how good Cornerstone is at just walling the format. And yeah, it's not useful in every format, or in every match, but, you know, Cornerstone is creeping back up into the format, and I think a 2nd Cornerstone would not only help us get into our Terrors, you know, the Wellsprings, the Noctowls, you know, etc., I think that would just be better, because obviously we are playing a decent number of Area 0, but we're only playing 2 Terrors, which I personally don't like. My other complaint about this list is the Sparkling Crystal. I personally don't think this is the right A-Spec. Now, the issue is if you play Max Belt, you don't really benefit all that much. I wouldn't mind a Braid Bangle going in this list, but the point is that I don't think Sparkling Crystal is the A-Spec of choice. If I was to personally pick, it would either be Legacy Energy or Prime Catcher. I don't think Sparkling Crystal is too necessary. Because obviously we do play double water, we only play 2 Crispin, so, you know, we don't have a huge amount of ways of getting energy onto the board. But of course, Wellspring isn't always going to be used in all the matchups that we're going to meet. And I think accommodating for both the Wellspring and the Cornerstone with this card just seems a little bit extreme. So I personally think Legacy Energy or Prime Catcher should be tried in this particular list. Without further ado, let's go over the deck list. So of course we have 3 Pikipek, 2 Trumbeak, 3 Toucannon, 2 Hoothoot, 2 Noctowl, 2 Duskull, 1 Dusclops, and 1 Dusknoir. Then of course 2 Fan Rotom, 1 Wellspring, 1 Latias, 1 Fez, 1 Lillie's Clefairy, and 1 Cornerstone. Then of course we have 4 Dawn, 2 Lillies, 2 Crispin, 2 Boss, 4 Poké Pad, 3 Buddy Poffin, 3 Rare Candy, 2 Ultra Ball, 2 Night Stretcher, 1 Sacred Ash, 1 Air Balloon, 1 Sparkling Crystal as our ace spec for today. Then of course 3 Area 0, 3 Psychic, 2 Water, and 2 Fighting. Like I said, I think this list has some legs. Sorry if I'm like cutting off my commentary like mid-sentence. I thought I saw a massive spider in my man cave. I'm not afraid of spiders, but if so, I'd have to deal with it before we go any further, because I'm not letting him crawl around. Luckily, it's not a spider, it's just a bit of dust. It appears to be a dust bunny, as we call it. But no, honestly, I think other than those 2 minor complaints about this list that I built here, I think personally this is a pretty good list. You know, we have plenty of outs to our Pokemon. I wouldn't mind playing a 4th Poffin. That is another one that I wouldn't mind, but this isn't something that I'm like complaining about. You know, with 4 Dawn, 4 Poké Pad, 3 Poffin, 2 Ultra Ball, double Fan Rotom, we should have no issues getting Pokemon out. But I wouldn't mind a 4th Poffin. It's not on like my priority to-do list, but that's something you could potentially think about as well. Like I said, I think a 3rd Terra, which would definitely should be a 2nd Cornerstone, and a change of the ace spec, I think personally that's what this list should focus on. Yeah, you can still have Wellspring, and you can still play the Water Energies, you know, that sort of thing. You can still do that. But it shouldn't be our priority, and personally I think that's where this list falls a little bit short. And also the lack of a 3rd Terra. Because obviously with Area 0 we need a Terra in play to make use of it. And if we prize one and we're not finding our Dawns, that's going to make things very tricky. But like I said, that's just minor complaints about the list that I built here. Anywho, let's get into some games and see how we do. And welcome to our first game. Obviously, we've been slipping down the Arceus ladder a little bit, but I'm not too worried. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Which is ironic, because I was up at 6 in the morning. It's now just gone 7:30. Well, 20 to 8, sorry. Only because I couldn't sleep very well. Obviously, when this video goes out, it would have happened weeks ago. I've got a job interview today, so I've got a couple of hours to, you know, get some recording done. But, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous, but that's to be expected. Okay, that's a pretty alright starting hand. Are we going first or second? We're going second. Okay, I'm fine with that. And they've got a mulligan. It's a Mega Gengar deck. Ooh, interesting. Very interesting. It means we can get a Dawn early, which is good. So I'm fine with that. And an Area 0 off the top is perfectly fine. Hello, Darkrai. It's been a while. Not really, because I see Darkrai quite a bit. But, you know, in the context, it's... yeah. And he's just going to go attach, air balloon, and a pass. And that is fine. I did notice Academy at Night on his mulligan there, so that's something we will need to consider. We have prized our Cornerstone, which isn't too big of a deal, so I'm not too mad about that. Let's see, we've got Poké Pad, so I can get Fan Rotom, so I'm going to take Dusclops, and I'll take Toucannon. Because then I can Poké Pad for a Fan. We can prize check now as well, because we have a little bit more time. So we've got nothing in a prize card, so that's good. We've obviously got our Cornerstone in there, which is why I mentioned. We have prized both, well, one of our Lily's Determinations. I thought we prized both, which would have been a problematic issue. We've got a Crystal in there. We've got a Water in the prize cards. Okay, no, we got them in the hand. That's fine. So that's fine then. So I'm going to play those down. I'll Poké Pad for a Duskull. So then we'll Fan Call. Get ourselves Pikipek, Hoothoot, and Noctowl. Because like I say, if he goes for an early knockout with Dust Raid, I'm not really bothered, as long as I can get enough set up. I'll then attach water to Pikipek and pass. I could go for double stab and like do 20 damage if I'm lucky enough, but I'm not particularly worried, I'll be brutally honest with you. You know, like, he got nothing down on his first turn, you know, other than attaching to Darkrai with an air balloon and a dark energy. So I'm not particularly worried in this instance. And obviously the more bench Pokemon he puts down, the more damage that Toucannon does. So again, I'm not particularly worried. His best option is to go into the Toxel and get a Call for Family off, but obviously that would make it a bit more tricky for him as the matchup goes on. And it looks like he's doing that exact play. But obviously he hasn't retreated yet, but he's already attached to the Darkrai, so he has to have an air balloon or something to retreat into the Darkrai. And it's just going to be a pass. That is fine. We should be able to take out that Darkrai this turn. So let's go for Area 0. We'll then evolve to Dusclops. Rare Candy deactive, it's fine, because we have Psychic in hand. We'll attach to Toucannon. So how much damage are we doing right now? 200. So I need Boss plus... Well, in fact, no. I'll Aerial Draw first. Okay, I don't think we're knocking out this Darkrai this turn, but I'm not too worried. Because I'm only doing 200 damage. Like, if I pop the Clops, it'd be a bit easier, but then... Yeah, I don't think it's worth it in the grand scheme of things. I think, honestly, I just play Lillie and just set up my board more. I'm happy to do that. I don't need to gust the Darkrai immediately. That's for certain. So I will Candy second Toucannon. I will definitely do that. So we'll go for another aerial draw. I can set up second Duskull just in case. Do I want to establish the second Fan Rotom? I'm not particularly bothered. No, I'm just gonna take out the Toxel. So we'll take out the Toxel for 220. That's fine by me. And there's another Candy, so that's good. If we find our Dusknoir. Because we can actually pop double Dusknoir this turn. I've just realised that. We could pop double Dusknoir if we wanted. So we're going to go for the Abyss Eye. Okay, that's fine. That's completely fine. Ultra Ball. He needs to grab Fez here to get some draw. Find a Mochi and Survivor. That's fine. He needs Fez here. He needs to grab a Fez. Nope, he's grabbing a Toxel. So I suspect this is a Lillie then. Because he should have grabbed Fez there to get some draw. And nope, he's just going to Abyss Eye my Toucannon. Poor bird. Nah, it's fine. We play an army of birds, it's completely fine. So, let's see then. So yeah, 200, 220, 240, 260. So yeah, we need to pop the Clops this turn, that's completely fine. So, I'm going to Dawn first. So we'll grab Dusknoir, we'll grab Pikipek and a Trumbeak. I think is fine. We don't need double Noctowl because we already have one in hand. So yeah, we can go... This is going to be disgusting. So we'll go Dusknoir. We can then Curse Blast, take out the Toxel. There's a reason why we're going for the Toxel first. Because remember, we can just Night Stretcher back the Dusknoir. So he'll take a prize, we'll take a prize. So we'll take our prize card now. Then we can bench ourselves a Pikipek. We can evolve to Noctowl. And use Jewel Seeker because we have the Wellspring in play. We can grab ourselves Buddy Poffin and a Night Stretcher. This is disgusting, man. So we can grab back the Dusknoir. Rare Candy into Dusknoir. I can attach to this. We can then Curse Blast and hit the Darkrai. This is evil, man. This is evil. And then all we have to do is just bench a bunch of Pokemon, which we can do with Buddy Poffin and the like. So then we'll go Sacred Ash. So we'll get rid of you, and you. I'm not sure why it's doing that effect, but that's completely fine. So then we'll Buddy Poffin, establish Duskull and another Hoothoot. And that should be knockout. Yes, perfect. So we'll aerial draw. There's the Dusknoir again, and then we'll Feather Rondo for the knockout. That is an insane turn. Wow. We've just wiped out his energy acceleration and wiped out his Mega in a single turn. This is disgusting. Wow. I mean, the only bad thing is that was our third candy, but that shouldn't be an issue. That really shouldn't be an issue. If he establishes another Toxel and doesn't take out my bird, I can go Crispin, I can go Poké Pad for a Noctowl, grab Crystal, and then we can Crispin to the Wellspring, and Wellspring a Toxel on the bench. So we have game here. That is an insane turn, and this just proves how good this deck is. You know, Dawn Toucannon is cracked, to say the least. And I think it's safe to say after that turn, my opponent has probably rage quit, and I don't blame them. That was a disgusting turn. Obviously, I can't candy Dusknoir again, but, you know, I'm fine with that, because if he was to establish another board state, and yeah, he's not doing anything, so I'm just going to Feather Ronda for 200. That was an evil turn, and really proves how powerful this deck can be at times. You know, that's what the Dawnzard variant was built to do back in the day, when we had the Dawnzard variant. It was built to just, you know, take heavy hits, deal with Dusknoir, use Wellspring if you can, you know, that sort of thing. It was evil, and that turn was evil, which is ironic, because we was facing Darkrai, although Darkrai is not inherently evil, but you get the point. That was nasty. And that perfectly proves how evil this deck can be. So, let's go to a game 2. And welcome back to game 2. I think, ironically, I've not long showered, because obviously I've got my interview later. I think I might need to go again, that's for sure, after that. Obviously, when this video comes out, the interview would have been about 2-3 weeks ago, but yeah, I've got it today, and I'm a little bit nervous, but after that, I think I need to shower again. Let's put it that way. That was disgusting. It looks like we have a mulligan, which, to be fair, this hand is awful, so I'm kind of glad it's a mulligan. But no, the Darkrai, like, Abyss Eye effect seems to be quite buggy, but it's fine. You know, I'm not bothered. You know, even if the opponent had put down other Pokemon, like I said, we could have gone for the Wellspring play. And, like I said, they had to deal with the Toucannon that turn. And even then, I probably would have had a response, even without having Candy. So, you know, it's something to consider, but, you know, I think we just perfectly proved how dirty this archetype can be. Okay, I'm happy to start a Pikipek. I'm completely fine with that. So they'll take a mulligan, they're going to bench another Pokemon, and obviously we are going first. It is Festival Lead, so we're going to need the Ghosts. But then again, we just need Cornerstone, don't we? Oh, I'm going to hell for this, that's for sure. So let's go for an Ultra Ball, get rid of a Trumbeak, and I'm not too worried about the Area 0. We have Cornerstone in the deck. Excellent. See, like I said, we can Poké Pad for whatever we want, so I'm completely fine with that. So let's have a look at the deck. So obviously we just chucked away a Trumbeak, so that's where that will be. We're going to Pikipek and the Toucannon in the active. We've prized no Hootoots, that's good. We have prized one of our Duskulls, but that shouldn't be too relevant. We've got the Wellspring in there as well. We have got a Crispin in the prize cards, but that should be okay. We've got a Crystal. That's all we need. So we will grab our Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon. I'll then bench a Hoothoot. Do I want to bench this Duskull? Sure, why not? Pass. I'm fine with that, you know, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, this is why Cornerstone is just so good at the minute, because, you know, with the amount of cards that Festival Lead is playing, they're not typically playing an answer to Cornerstone. The only ones that they can really play is the Rillaboom, the single prize Rillaboom. But, you know, there's not much they can do in that regard. And obviously with the Cornerstone and a Hoothoot established, we can just, you know, get started and play. So that's why I put in Cornerstones, because I must admit I don't like the Festival Lead matchup, and it's quite naughty at times. But something tells me my opponent is reading Cornerstone and realising they probably don't have an answer. They're going to get down to Psyduck, so no Ghost for us, but that's fine. If you know I need to, I can use it as a sacrifice. I'm not particularly bothered. Yeah, I think they don't have an answer to Cornerstone, so they're being a bit salty by slow playing here, because that's the only action they've made, and it's been just over a minute of their turn. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say our opponent doesn't have an answer to the Cornerstone, which is why I said in the intro part, I would love a second Cornerstone, because it's so good into Festival League right now. There's bug catching. They're deliberately taking long with their actions, which I think is hilarious. But, like I said, because you put down this, I don't need to evolve this, because this can stay a Duskull, and I just don't need to bench any more Pokemon. So, you can do what you like, my friend. I don't care how long you take. I've got the patience. But it just means I'm going to have to cut down some of this match, but that's fine. I'm going to jump ahead to when it's my turn anyway, because, well, he's not happy, it seems. And after nearly 6 minutes of their first turn, they finally complete their first turn. They've played Secret Box, you know, played a few Poké Pads, but I'm not too worried, I'll be honest. I might as well evolve this. So we'll go Poké Pad for Noctowl. So we'll go Noctowl for Jewel Seeker. Because unlike him, I'm not going to be disrespectful, but, you know, that's just me. So I'm going to take Crispin and a Candy. Because then I can actually attack with the Toucannon. So then we'll Candy Toucannon. Aerial Draw. Night Stretch is good to see. That's what we like. So we will just go Psychic Fighting. We'll put the Fight into hand, because we're going to need that later for Cornerstone. Attach the Cornerstone. And Featherondo. Yeah, this opponent is massively salty. Like, I get it, you know. You don't have an answer to the Cornerstone. I understand that, you know. There may be times where you don't have an answer to Cornerstone. But taking nearly 6 minutes to do your first turn? Come on, man. Don't be this disrespectful, you know. If you don't have an answer, just concede. I can sit here all day, you know. I can sit here for the full 20 minutes. Obviously, you guys won't, because, well, I've had to cut out a lot of his turn. But you get the point, you know. I can sit here. I'm absolutely happy to. But, yeah, my opponent just isn't very happy. And he's even mentioned a Rellor just to show how angry he is. He's got the Growing Grass energy, which I'm not too worried about. He's actually playing a little bit faster than he was previously, I will say. But, you know, nearly 6 minutes to do his first turn was just embarrassing to witness, to say the least. But obviously, we just got our Crispin off the prize card, so we can actually, you know, attack with Cornerstone next turn, which is good for me. But, yeah, because of how long I suspect they'll take, I'll see in a minute. And, well, after nearly another 2.5 minutes, he's actually declaring the attack with Do the Wave. I would say I'm surprised, but I'm really not. The best part is, he does have an answer sitting on his bench. It's this Rellor. I know what you're thinking, that's not an answer. It actually is, but we'll talk about that shortly. Well, there's a boss. I'm going to have to play the Crispin for turn, though, which sucks, but it's fine. So I'll just play the Crispin. Get the Cornerstone fully set up. And demolish for 140. So the reason why the Rellor is a response is if he has Gladion plus Grass Energy, he can actually attack with the Rellor and do 110 damage. But, you know, maybe he's worked that out, but he's got 10 cards in his hand. Make that 11. You know, he's going to need a lot here to, you know, get that hand down, but also, you know, actually do the attack. There's another Applin. He might even have a response. After all this saltiness is the best part. Because this is his response. Because he could knock me out with this Rellor. There's a Grass Energy. Does he not realise he can Gladion this, right? And if he does, I lose my Cornerstone. I don't think he realises. But anyway, again, since he's probably going to take a decent time with his turn, I'll see in a moment. And well, after all that, he's still not realised it's a full answer, because he's just attacked for, you know, 120 with a Bangle. that's fine then, because then that means I can continue to set up my board, because it's likely he's going to kill this Cornerstone eventually. Because he's probably going to respond with the Applin, so I need to be prepared for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a Pikipek. Actually, no. Wouldn't thingy be better? But then again, no, I'm not establishing a basic, so probably not the best idea. Actually, no. I'm going to take Wellspring. Do I take Noctowl? Then again, no. This just feels incorrect. I'll go Hoothoot Noctowl, and I'll grab a Toucannon. I had to think then, which is not the best thing, but it's okay. Because then I can Night Stretcher back the Pikipek. Actually, he has a response, so I don't know why he's been so salty, but sadly, this is just what some people do. It's quite a shame, really, but again, it's just what some people do. They have their own ways of like dealing with, you know, their anger and frustration, but you know, it's a shame that players have to do things like this. And remember, I cannot report this player for his slow playing, but you know, it's a shame. But at least we have, you know, backup attackers established at the very least. And the best part is, if he gets a tumbling attack with a Bangle, he actually knocks out the Cornerstone. So I don't know why he's been slow playing all this time. You know, you have Gladion in your deck, well you should, you know. I really don't understand it. And like I say, he's got a Kieran as well. So I'm not understanding the thought process of this player. You know, you've taken 7 minutes longer total. And this is, you know, this is how you've been treating your opponents. It's like, come on, man. But anyway, again, since he's probably going to take some time with his turn, I'll see you in a moment. Oh, we finally have an action after, again, multiple turns of slow playing. Yeah, he's going to target the Pikipek, that's fair enough. But that actually is bad for him. We will all see why shortly, because I should... Do I have a response here? I don't think so. And well, I'm just going to promote the Cornerstone because you can't damage it. So, you know, you can hit it if you like, but I don't really care. Could we have a response here, is my question. Depends on my top deck. Okay, well, I'm going to bump the Stadium just to make his job a little bit harder. So we'll go Noctowl for Jewel Seeker. Because I might try and establish Wellspring. Because I don't have a Crispin, but I do have Crystal. I might establish that. But then again, that's another 2 prizer that you can go for. So I don't think that's correct. What have I got in the deck? That will probably influence my decision. I can go Sacred Ash Buddy Poffin. And no, he's just going to concede. After all that, he has finally conceded one absolute insert British word. You spent all that time slow playing, all that time being an idiot, and you had a response the whole time. That is just massively disrespectful. Like, come on. You know, you had a response to the Cornerstone, and you decide to be like that. I'm going to have to cut out nearly 10-15 minutes of footage just because of how much he was slow playing and not doing his turns. You had answers the whole time. You play Gladion, you play Relor, which can attack. I don't know, but this guy, yeah, if you beat him, expect him to be salty because he can't play his apples. But anyway, let's go to a game 3. Genuinely, that was the saltiest opponent I've ran into in this game, you know. I know, like, Relor, Gladion, maybe he didn't see that line, but he saw the Brave Bangle line, which I find weird, you know? But, yeah, that's why we play the Cornerstone, you know? It's there for a reason. Festival Lead is pretty tough for our deck, so that's what we have to deal with. Okay, this hand's not... Even though it looks good, it's not amazing. So I'm going to start the Fan. Because Fan lets us thin out the deck a little bit. But yeah, I've put it... That is so funny. Genuinely, that is so funny. What the hell is this? Sizzlipede? Well, see, next couple sets, this archetype is actually worth playing. But you know, I don't really see what you're going to be doing now with it. But anyway, so let's go for these two. We need to leave room for a Cornerstone or Wellspring or anything like that. We've got them both in the deck, so that's fine. So we've got Trumbeak in hand, so that's fine. We've got Crispin in there, so that's good. We've prized a Candy, which I'm not too worried about. We've got an Area 0 in hand, and we've not prized any energy. I'm fine with that. So then we will Fan Call. We will grab the Noctowl Trumbeak, and I think that's it. That's all I need to grab. Because we're probably going to have to Lillie away this Noctowl anyway, but at least, you know, we're thinning it at the deck, technically speaking. Same with the Trumbeak. But yeah, that was so funny. That was just so funny. Is he going to go for a controlled burn? Because if so, I can actually, you know, do something here. Dawn. But yeah, that was so funny. And it looks to be a control deck of some degree. Like a control mill deck. I'm not too worried about that. That's annoying, but I can live with that. There's a Dawn. Excellent. That's what we want. So we will grab Cornerstone. We will grab... what do I grab? Well, I need Toucannon. That's an obvious answer. I'll just take the Noctowl because it's my only target, unfortunately. So we'll bench the Cornerstone. We'll go Area 0. We will then Noctowl for Jewel Seeker. Because I can do that. My Air Balloon is prized, which is going to affect this turn slightly. Because I won't be able to... Then again, no, I can bench Latias, so it's fine. It just means I need to grab a Night Stretcher. Because he did mill a Psychic, which is good for us. So I'll just take Candy Night Stretcher. So then we'll go Rare Candy into a Toucannon. Doesn't matter which one. I can then bench a Latias. Go into the Toucannon. Night Stretcher back that Psychic Energy that he kindly put in the discard pile for us. We can then evolve to a Trumbeak. Aerial Draw. Get a Dawn, that's fine. And he's just going to scoop it up. Fair enough. I mean, I get what you're trying to do there, but control is not in a good situation at the minute, mate. But, you know, if you want to wait a little bit longer, if you wait till the next, well, the set after Celebrations, we do get quite a bit for the Bug Out archetype. So, you know, I know it's not the purpose of your deck, you was playing a control deck, but, you know, Bug Out looks to be pretty funny. You know, I'm looking forward to playing that. But yeah, that was pretty funny. So we'll go to game 4. And welcome back to game 4. That was, I mean, it's a control deck. Controller's in a terrible position at the minute. And, you know, when you have Noctowl, you have Dawns, you know, you have so much Pokemon Surge. I've just been rudely interrupted by a Magpie there. Well, there's 2 Magpies. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy. Which, remember, although not all of you are British and you probably won't know it, but there's an old, like, you know, like, there's an old tale where if you see a certain number of magpies, it gives you, like, different... It's superstition, but, like, you know, people still do it. So it's 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy, 5 for silver, 6 for gold, 7 for a secret never to be told. And at the minute, I've seen 2 magpies, so... Given that... Oh, no, there's 3. So 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl. I hope not, but anyway, let's not get bogged down with the old magpie's tale. I'm sure some of you have probably heard that. Right, so let's grab ourselves, because we've got Buddy Poffin to get our stuff. So I'll take Hoot, Noct. In fact, no, I don't need to take a Noct, because I've got one in hand. So I will just take a Pikipek. And do I have a Trumbeak in hand? I do. So I might just take a second Pikipek, which would not be a bad idea. Because what we're facing, don't know yet, so I'm just going to take that. So then we'll go bench, Poffin for a Duskull. I can now do a proper prize check. So we've got both our Duskulls, we've got the Dusclops and the Dusknoir. so that's fine. They're all fine, so that's good. We've got a Dawn in the prize card, so that's fine. We've got a Candy in hand, so that's fine. And Energy looks fine to me. And with that, I will pass my turn. But yeah, that opponent was just extremely salty, and I'm still not over that because that was hilarious. But yeah, that was just funny. But that, like I said, that's what some people do to like deal with, you know, like you know, that's what they do to deal with their anger and frustration. They take it out on other people, which, you know, that to me is already a no-no, but still. But yeah, like I said, that's why we play the Cornerstones, and, well, he's got the energy to attach and retreat into Badoo, so we're going to get Badoo locked. But that shouldn't be too, like, troublesome, because, you know, we can just... We can get boards set up here. I mean, the only thing that I wish I'd have done is played this Ultra Ball to grab a Cornerstone now, and I'm kind of regretting that. But, of course, you know, it's Dragapult. They play everything under the sun, you know. They always have a Lillie or an answer to find a Lillie. They always have Badoo, you know, this, that, and the other. You know, I watched LDF's video on the Badoo, well, like the Badoo problem, and sadly, there's just not a lot we can do about it. Speaking of not being able to do a lot about it, I can't do anything about this hand, unfortunately, because if I'd have played this Ultra Ball and, you know, they hadn't hand disrupted us, which they don't appear to have they don't appear to that they were going to, we might have been in a much better position than we are now. Because we could have took out this Badoo, potentially with Trumbeak, or even Fan Rotom if we wanted to go that route. But, you know, Dragapult's a tough matchup for us anyway, because, you know, it gatekeeps single prize decks, which is something that Dragapult just does, sadly, you know. But obviously, we do have Clefairy. That's something to consider. We do have Clefairy in this deck, but Clefairy isn't, you know, like a guaranteed answer, and it can be easily responded to. But anyway, that's just how it goes. And of course, being Dragapult, you establish 3 Dracloaks in a single turn. Which again, if you've been playing Pokemon for long enough, you should know that by now. And there's the Itchy Pollen. Well, there's Cornerstone, so that does help us out, which is good. Obviously, Cornerstone isn't good in this matchup, but that's not the point. So what I'm thinking is, because we're going to be item locked again, most likely. We have Area Zero in hand, so I'm thinking just take Lillie. And, I'll take Air Balloon. Because then we can do this. We can bench this, Air Balloon this, and Lillie. Oh, that's shocking. That is shocking. Right, well, we're probably going to get Phantom Dive next turn, so I have to go for the fly angle. So let's go for a fly. If we get it, then that's good. Which we do, because we take out the Badoo and remove from damage and effects. But they can just boss around, so, you know, and it's Dragapult. They probably do have a boss. There's that Clefairy, which is sitting in the prize cards. I didn't mention it, but it was in there. But no. And of course, they always have an out to their Pults, we should know this by now. And speak of the devil, there he is. Have you even got the fire energy to attach to your Dragapult? Or, you know, you're going to find it off of your first recon directive? Which, again, you know, like, this is why, like, I can't wait for rotation, genuinely. I couldn't wait for rotation when it came to, and there you go, first recon, and he finds a fire energy. And he even has unfair stam, like, Pult always has it, folks. We should all know this by now. I mean, there's Watchtower, which is, again, proving my point. Pult always has it. I mean, come on. They're playing Watchtower. They've got unfair stam. Yeah, I'm just going to scoop. That is ridiculous. Like, yeah, this deck's disgusting, but Pult is just as disgusting. He had the stamp, he had the fire, he had the Watchtower, he had everything. like, come on. What can I do against an archetype like that? But, you know, that is another reason why I can't wait for rotation, because Pult goes, you know, all that sort of stuff, and I'm kind of looking forward to that, because, you know, Pult's been a vermin on this format for far too long, and, you know, they're never going to ban anything in Dragapult, because Dragapult's making them money, so that's the way to think about it. But, you know what, with how we've gone with our games today, I'm happy with that. So, what did I think to this deck? This deck is evil. There's no polite way of putting it. Obviously, you know, the misplay with not playing the Ultra Ball, I don't think it would have mattered, because they would have had, you know, Dragapult going pretty much, probably even the same turn, you know. They probably would have had it going similar turn to us, so I don't think that would have mattered in the long run. Because, like I said, they were teched for us, they had Watchtower, they had the Unfair Stamp perfectly timed, as per usual with Pult, they had the Fire, they had everything, so, you know, the problem is that Toucannon's very good, but unfortunately gets gatekeeped by Dragapult, which is just a sad reality of this game, unfortunately. But honestly, once Dragapult goes, I think this archetype will see a much better, you know, like, overall matchup spread, because any Pult variant is just going to automatically gatekeep you, because, you know, you rely on candies to get into your Toucannons. You know, you rely on Terra Pokemon, which don't have any protection against Dragapult, because obviously the damage counters goes through the effective Terra. You know, there's a lot to consider, but honestly, this archetype is disgusting. And yeah, like I said, I think I'm going to need to go and shower, but that's just me. Anywho, I'm going to leave it all to it for today. I really hope you enjoyed seeing Dawn Toucannon being played today, and I'll see you next time.